In this video, Samantha Hill, the microsite product manager at the National Kidney Registry and a living donor kidney recipient, and Ellis Mirsky, a donor search expert who has helped over 25 people, including himself, find a living donor kidney, discuss how to develop your story and communicate your need for a kidney through various web platforms and outside interactions.
How does a patient go about discussing their need for a donor? You mentioned it, a 5-line story in a post. So what's the difference between a post and what you put in that versus what you put in your microsite versus what you talk to the people in your life about?
First thing you need to realize, the most important thing in your life is your life. And you want to continue that life. Any other consideration, I think, is secondary to your need to let people know you need a kidney. And if it's boring to people, all right, I'm sorry, they're bored. You don't need to drive it down their throat every time, but I think you need to keep people in the know that you're looking for a kidney and maybe you've done this, you've done that. It's not as though you don't want to put a person in a position of saying, I need you to donate your kidney, but everyone can help in some way. And it's not by giving a kidney. The way they can help is in a little way, something that's not burdensome. Share my Facebook post, share my website. That's all. That's a small thing you could do, helps get the word out. And anytime you post, ask people to share your URL and share the post. And that will exponentiate, in a sense, as a friend of a friend shares and their friends share. And that's exactly what happened with me. My daughter-in-law saw that I had posted. I was a little shy. I wasn't going to ask that person. I wasn't going to ask anybody to share my posts. And I learned that my daughter-in-law called me. She said somebody had talked to her and asked whether I was related, and yes. And that person then shared to a group, and in that group was a friend that she hadn't seen in 20 years who went to college with her, and she ultimately became my donor. Never knew her. She was inspired by the story and other factors, which I'll go into, and that resulted in my getting a kidney. So I think you want to let people know, and you want them to share. And a little nuance, when you post to Facebook, post publicly, not privately or to your friends. Because if you post to friends, it'll be like you shoot a bullet inside a metal room, and it ricochets all around. And that's what happens to your message in a private Facebook post to a group. It just bounces around within the group. Even if everyone shares it, it's not going outside that group, or it's not going outside the friends. So you always want to share publicly.
So then what about on your microsite for the bigger story? How do you go about crafting that?
Within each section, one is my story and one is why I need a kidney. And I think those are really important, large areas of interest. And within that, I suggest that people write who they are, what their interests are, and why they need a kidney, what happened to them. And then make yourself a good target to be a recipient by, for example, saying or telling how you help other people. Why is your life worth saving? I mean, it's a stark question. Everyone's life is worth saving, but why should I give my kidney to you? What about you is something that I would be interested in doing? Now, not everyone needs that motivation. Some people just want to give a kidney, and they're not so concerned with who gets it so much as someone's going to get it. And that's where NKR plays such a vital role in taking in those kinds of kidneys and from those kinds of donors and using them to help other people through a series of links get their kidneys, compatible kidneys. And then also I would write how the kidney transplant will affect their life. Besides extending their life, what will they be able to do with a kidney transplant that they would not be able to do otherwise? It's a tough question to answer. I mean, it would almost seem obvious. Well, it will help me live, but tell us more. And then the second section is why I need a kidney, and I would go into kidney basics, a little education there. I think with some changes we're about to make on the website, we're going to have buttons to take people to drop downs that will provide a little bit of education in a number of areas that will make the potential donor more familiar with the kidney transplant process and how their donation would fit in the overall scheme.
So what types of personal anecdotes do you think are important to include, and then how many? You don't want to overwhelm your donor, but you also want to make it personal, correct?
I think you do want something personal, but you want to talk about something that was significant and that people would respect. We just did one for a Vietnam veteran, and we included a good photo of him in Vietnam in his Army uniform in front of a helicopter, shirt sleeves rolled up. That's an inspiring photograph, and I think that's an inspiring story that this fellow served in the military. We have another one with a fireman, and he talks a little bit about his experience as a fireman. I think any anecdote that and shouldn't be too long. Just say, this is what I did, this is who I am, and leave it at that. No one wants to read a life story. They do want a glimpse into who the person is.
What about those who might not have had such incredible experiences as being a soldier in Vietnam, or in the case of that fireman, he was a 9/11 first responder. And that, of course, is an incredible thing to include. But what if you're maybe, not so adventurous in your life? Maybe you've never really left your hometown. Maybe you're, not saving the world on a daily basis.
There's something interesting about everyone. And I think the trick is to find what that thing is, or two things. They spent their life as a librarian. What kind of books did you read? How did you help people in the library? What did you do that is worthy of note? And everyone's got something. Everyone has some story. You just have to dig, scratch the surface, engage the patient in conversation, and learn something about them. And that's the job. You're an investigator as a coach, and you really want to pull information out. And I have an outline of questions to ask. And first thing is, tell us about yourself. So microsite coach could say, tell me about yourself. What do you do for a living? What do you do for hobbies? Tell us about your family. Tell us about your friends. How have you helped other people during your life? And how do you propose to help people in the future after your transplant? I think with those 7 questions, you're going to get something interesting to put on the microsite.
How do you strike a balance between an honest, emotional peer where you might be vulnerable, you might have to be, versus a woe is me tale of the things you cannot do because you don't have a functioning kidney, the things that you have to do because you don't have a functioning kidney that are not enjoyable, that are not great things to be doing?
I think that's where editing and iteration come into play. And I had that recently with a microsite patient where we went and exchanged drafts, probably 5 iterations before we finalized on a set of words that made me happy in terms of the coach and what message I thought should go out, and made them happy, so that they were able to embrace it. Getting more than one person involved in reading the text, reading the copy, is the way to go. Initially, this person I was dealing with had 3 paragraphs on his experience, in a particular area, and I said, you don't need that much. Go with 2 sentences, 2.5 sentences, 3 sentences, and that's what ultimately where we wound up. I think it's a matter of not negotiation so much as editing back and forth.
When constructing your narrative, your story as a patient, what do you advise people to leave out?
I'm searching for the answer, but it's so obvious that I've forgotten. But here it is. Leave out politics, religion, and anything controversial, and go into your own social media presence and wash that out. Why eliminate a portion of the population because they don't agree with you politically? Why eliminate a portion of the population because they're of a different religion or ethnicity? I mean, I think religion and ethnicity would come out anyway, if someone's looking for it. But if you go on, and people will do research on you as a patient, so I would say be neutral, and don't project that don't put up barriers that are unnecessary to interest people in donating.